Hello, this is the Captain Paxo, back with another episode of Dark Souls. Homewards? Yeah, sure, why not? Don't really have much to talk about this time around, just kind of felt like playing some Dark Souls. How many souls do I have? Okay. Do I have the crest of... Yes, I do. Okay. So we can go do that. Go take on Sif and get the Covenant of Artorias and then take on the Four Kings. Probably not going to do particularly well, but hey, it's worth a shot, right? Make sure we rest. And actually I'm going to quickly kill myself, because I'd rather not get invaded. As much as I do have fun doing PvP, I prefer not to get invaded when I'm trying to do something. And just killing myself is... Or making sure I'm in hollow form is a surefire way to go about doing it. Is it a bit cheesy? Yeah, it's a bit cheesy. But does it prevent me from getting invaded and allow me to just do what I want to do? Yeah. It does. Speaking of invasions, I actually did a little bit of invading, and that's why I had 11 humanity. It's because I actually managed to get 2 or 3 wins. I think I had like 8 humanity at the end of the last episode. So yeah, about 3 wins. I used the 10 cracked red eye orbs and only got 3 wins, so yeah, I suck. I'm super rusty, and I'm rolling with a setup that has incredibly low defenses and incredibly low vitality. I mean, I have like, what? Yeah, 800 vitality. That's enough to get 2-pieced by a Zweihander, you know? So it's like, sure, I can dish out some pretty decent damage, but I'm most certainly a glass cannon. But I had fun, for the most part. Alright. Don't really have a plan for any topics this time around, just kind of wanted to play some Dark Souls. And I wasn't sure what exactly I wanted to do. Part of me kind of wanted to work on the health regen build. I restarted because I can't help it. I absolutely love that build. It's way too satisfying to just take a hit and go, and just regenerate all of your life and be straight back into the fight, you know. But at the same time, because I've done it so much at this point, it's kind of like, well, maybe I should do something else. And I was thinking, maybe I should do like a pyro build. Maybe I should use like a Moonlight Greatsword. And once again, I'll kind of like, well, hang on a minute. I can do that sort of stuff with this build because I have the 16 strength to be able to one-hand the MLGS. And I have the attunement slots to be able to do a pyro. I just need the resources. So I guess that's the goal, is to get... Am I with the Cat Covenant? I am with the Cat Covenant. Cool. Oh yeah, because I wanted to purchase some weapons off of Shiva. Yeah, I see what I did there. But yeah. I could do these builds with... Or I could do... It's the sort of thing that I've talked about before, where I use builds that can kind of have multiple different setups, you know. I can use different sets of equipment or spells or stuff like that, and it basically just means that each build has a lot of variety towards them. Have I already... Am I an idiot? I think I'm retarded. probably in the bottomless box, isn't it? Probably what I've gone and done. You plinker. You should have just checked. Goddamn monkey. No, I probably can't roll, but I want to know if I have the crest shield. I do. I'm going to use that. And probably not use any magic because it's shit against the those dudes, the whatever they're called. And I'm going to use whatever doesn't make me mid-roll, which evidently is this. Do I have any... Oh, I have 4 of those. Let's go buy some charcoal. One big concern about my health regen build is that maybe I want to use the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring. Again, I'm not too sure if replenishment actually is affected by lingering or not. I don't know. I can only run off my assumptions, so assumptions I run off of. But the thing is in order to get the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring, unless I'm mistaken, you have to purchase it off of Griggs, I think his name is. Sorcery dude. But the only way you can get him to act as a vendor with a V. The only way to do that is to have 10 intelligence. And I don't think bandits start with 10 intelligence. So I'd have to invest. Which of course is not great. 18? That's probably enough. Because I don't want to use Great Magic Weapon against the 4 Kings, because they're... I mean, they use magic, so they're probably pretty resistant to magic. You know? I always do like an attack when I come out of that walkway, because it generally I end up in the Undead Burg, and then whenever I come back they've respawned, even though I haven't rested at the bonfire. So that's why there's that ism. But if I don't want to invest the 10 intelligence, or the few points to get the 10 intelligence, then I'm going to have someone drop it for me. Which, you know, not the worst thing in the world to have someone drop you. Especially if I take an intelligence build to New Game Plus, then I can get 2 Lingering Dragon Crest Rings, and I could just give one to my friend who then gives it to my other build, right? Or maybe they pick it up and they find it to be completely useless. You know, they don't need it. Why would they use it? Oh, let's use full control. I like full control. Oh my god, it actually puts me in the mid-roll. How much weight is that? It's 2 units. Alright. And now that I have a shield, I can be a little bit more confident in parrying the Dark Wraiths. And since I don't have the offhand weapon, I can't do a burrito, so I have to two-hand. Even though this weapon scales with like a D in strength, which is not great. Okay, what's the usual thing here? I'm not gonna forget, don't worry, the ring. I just want to get out of the way of potentially being attacked. Well, I'm not using magic, so I might as well just replace that, right? I'm not particularly confident in the Four Kings. I used to be. That was a long time ago. There we go. Backstep. I hate this part. It's actually not so bad if you die in the Four Kings, because it gives you kind of a little marker as to where they're going to spawn. Oh shit, that does not do damage. Woo. That crush shield. Oh god, and another one spawned. Thing is, they don't usually engage. Until the other one's dead. Oh. Pop a quick heal. That's a lot of stamina that uses. And I've run out of... Fuck. Oh, no, 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 no. Stamina, come back. Fuck. Use the Estus. I'm going to be pretty conservative about my stamina. This is the most I've had to watch my stamina in a very long time. Alright. Ah, holy shit, that did damage. I'm not too confident in being able to outrange it. Holy shit, there's a fifth king. Just take your time. One, two. This might be it. Yep. There we go. Woo. Hey. Well, too late. I was gonna swap to the Silver Covetous. I don't think I even have it in my inventory. No, I do not. Yes. God, this dude does a lot of talking. Cheers, Framped. This is Carthage, isn't it? I'm sorry, they look so different. Kingseeker Framped, Darkstalker Karth, right? Right. Back to filing to upgrade our Pyro Glove, I think. And then maybe actually buy some Chaos Pyromancies. Or maybe not Chaos Pyromancies, that's... Chaos Covenant. Oh boy, is it expensive. Whew. And it's not even ascended. And I don't have any soul items. Okay. Let's get back on that shiz. There you go. See, I only need like 5,000 more souls. I don't have the silver. Let's just go fight some Dark Wraiths. Get the souls, max out the Pyroglove, and then go talk to Thingamadoodle. This is the thing about caster builds. So expensive. So expensive. I think it's one of the things that people forget to mention about caster builds. Is like, sure, they do ridiculous amounts of damage and they're incredibly powerful, but they are expensive to make, and most times they do not have a lot of survivability. Like, they have low endurance, so they have to wear crap armor, and they have low vitality, so they die incredibly quickly. However, their damage output is beyond ludicrous. They are the very definition of glass cannon. And some people take that to the extreme by, like, putting themselves in red tearstone ring with power within and a tin crystallization catalyst and all that sort of kind of crazy stuff, and then they hit one dark bead and it hits for like 2300 damage. Okay, sure. Not my kind of playstyle, but you can't deny its effectiveness. I was watching a video the other day about fighting games, and how people new players kind of react to getting their asses beat by stuff they don't know how to counter. And it was pretty much just stuff like, oh, you know, my buttons don't work, or the game's broken, or something that was rather interesting is that one of the points was, oh, well, that move is cheap. Okay, maybe not so interesting, but the interesting part for me was the part where they said, oh, that you're cheap for using that, or they extended it to, if you use that move, you're dishonorable. And they weren't even referencing Dark Souls. They were kind of just referencing like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and those like proper like hardcore fighting games. And they were talking about how your lack of knowledge or ability to be able to counter these certain maneuvers results in players kind of stigmatizing certain moves and certain tactics and starting to look down upon them, starting to call them dishonorable and all of that stuff. And it eventually kind of breeds this sort of elitism within the game where you have people classifying certain moves as cheap and trying to discredit people's victories when they use those certain tactics, and how dangerous that can be for a fighting game community. And it's like, it's funny how those exact kind of ideas, and especially the terminology with the dishonorable, it's funny how that just immediately applies to Dark Souls. Like, if you spam Wrath of the Gods, well, you're dishonorable. It's not that maybe that player didn't know how to roll through Wrath, or they didn't know about the dead angle. No, it's just Wrath of Gods is cheap and it's broken and they need to fix it, right? Hence why that move is dishonorable. You have no dignity, you have no honor. You start looking down upon certain techniques, but Dark Souls is kind of the extreme extent of that, where it doesn't really matter what you do, it doesn't really matter how you play in PvP, someone is going to look down upon what you're doing. Which is why you simply just don't bother trying to appeal to people. Because if you try to appeal to everyone, there is still going to be someone that you cannot appeal to. Because you'll do something that'll piss them off. And that is just the Dark Souls community in a nutshell. And the idea was simply just try and find out, try and learn about your game, and maybe don't just immediately cool stuff bullshit, you know? Which is something that's quite nice to hear, when I've been kind of trying to promote the same kind of thing for a while now. Especially, actually, one of the earliest videos that I made was kind of about, like, trying to adapt and trying to understand the game. That was on Dark Souls 3, back when I actually enjoyed that game. It was talking about the Dark Sword, because the Dark Sword was considered insanely overpowered, and it was very powerful, sure, it did great damage, it had good range, it was phenomenal at roll catching, which was the meta, still is the meta as far as I can understand it. And people just didn't know how to deal with R1 spamming, because poise doesn't work in Dark Souls 3 like it does in Dark Souls 1. You can't just poise parry stuff. And trying to block parry can be very difficult in Dark Souls 3 because of the netcode. The netcode isn't consistent like it is in Dark Souls. Now granted, like, sure, the parry timing in Dark Souls PvP, you have to do it half a second before you, or before the attack lands, but at least it's consistent. You know, at least you know, you can kind of rely on the game to be consistent, whereas in Dark Souls 3 you kind of can't, and you have to judge the lag before you actually go for the parry. And on some connections you just simply cannot parry the Dark Sword consistently. Right? So a lot of people were complaining about it being super broken and super OP, and I was having a couple issues with it. Like, I thought it was perhaps a little bit more powerful than the rest of the cut, and I thought that maybe it, I don't know, I thought like it was definitely overused, but I didn't think it was insanely broken or overpowered. And I made a couple of videos pertaining towards this mentality of, oh, this is broken, we have to nerf it, you know? And the idea was simply that maybe we should just try and get good before we call for a nerf, you know? Because especially in like the first week of a game's release, you don't know how to do shit, you know? You don't know what the timings on the counters are, you don't even know what the counters are. You don't know why this weapon's good, you don't know why it's bad. All you know is that there are a lot of people using it and you're having a hard time countering it. That's all you know. Hello.
I like that.
Yes.
Yes, of course, very well. But are you?
Again, only time that you actually need to say no is to Laurentius. Laurentius? Yeah. Ooh, Undead Report. Great Combustion. Fire Orb, Great Fire Orb.
No luck. Well, young pupil. But do not keep me waiting.
You must have patience. Oh, hey! All of a sudden, Blighttown is bustling? Bustling.
Hello again.
Hello. Learn gesture. Look skyward. That's one gesture that I very rarely get. Oh, he sells flamberges as well. Shotul. He sells Uchigatana as well. Very strange way of pronouncing it, but what can you say? And the claw? What's the claw like? B-scaling in dexterity. The claw's actually one of my favourite weapons in Dark Souls 3. But unfortunately, you know, they've done a lot to improve fist weapons over the games, you know. Fist weapons in Dark Souls 1 are not quite as good as they are in Dark Souls 3. Even in Dark Souls 3, they're not particularly great, but they are pretty good. Now, everyone used to use the Caestus in their offhand as a parrying tool, whereas me, I used the claws and would occasionally two-hand the claws when I kind of wanted to use that, because they're actually deceptively good. They have good rolling attacks. They have good build bleed up, so they can stack up. They can rack up a lot of damage very quickly, and most people just don't really expect them, especially if it's in your offhand. Most people don't really expect you to actually main that weapon. Well, that's what I did. Mained it and loved it. Sucked at it a lot. There was a lot of sucking in Dark Souls 3. Otherwise I wouldn't have raged it, would I? But actually another video that I made pertaining towards certain weapons being overpowered was actually the idea of the more OP shit in the game there is, the more interesting the game is. And it can be kind of hard to immediately agree with that, because it's like, well, why would you want overpowered shit? That just means there's going to be loads of people using all of this ridiculous nonsense. But it's like, yeah, if there is a lot of ridiculous nonsense, a lot of different ridiculous nonsense, then that's good for the game. I kind of phrased it in a way that in the video I phrased it in a way that was like, oh yeah, we should definitely have a lot of overpowered stuff, but really all it is everything should be seen as good. Like, there shouldn't be certain weapon classes that are seen as bad, right? Because if you look at Dark Souls 1, a lot of people might look down on the Ultra Greatswords, but you cannot deny their ability to stun lock. They do a ton of poise damage, and just a ton of damage in general, right? And people who get stun locked, because maybe they don't know about the toggle escape, they just have to sit there and take the stun lock to death, right? They might consider the Ultra Greatswords cheap, when in reality they're not, because they're super slow, super easy to avoid, super easy to parry, and have a ton of recovery frames. They're super punishable. Who should we go for next? Let's try kill Hydra. Why not? But then you might look at Wrath of the Gods, mentioned that earlier. That guy might not have known, oh, you can just roll through Wrath of the Gods. And if they're trying to dead angle you and you roll through it, then you can get a very easy backstab. Because they're facing away from you, right? Maybe they don't know about dead angling, so they just call, oh, Wrath of the Gods is cheap. Maybe they don't know how to dodge magics, you know, like Soul Spear and stuff like that. Maybe they don't realize that mages have incredibly low survivability. They just think, oh no, magic it's just super overpowered because it does so much damage. What you don't realize is actually, well, maybe it does a lot of damage because you have to sacrifice a lot in your build in terms of survivability. Yes, hello cat. And also the magic is actually pretty hard to use against someone who knows what they're doing. You know? So when you just look at things in a one-dimensional setting, where it's just you, who's maybe never used this sort of stuff before, versus your opponent, who is very well versed in their stuff, whatever it may be. Ultra Great Sword, Stunlock, Dead Angle, Wrath of the Gods, Pyromancy, Sorcery, whatever it is, right? Oh, you're still alive. You're gonna get hit by a lot of stuff that they do because they know what they're doing and you don't know how to fight it. But because you don't understand it, and it's very frustrating to lose like that, you might just brush it off as being cheap and that guy's a dirtbag. Mm. Carry on. But in actuality, maybe they are actually a very skilled player, you just don't know how. But that comes in time with experience. And that's something that I've noticed actually, is that the more experienced players tend to be, the less likely they are to kind of go towards the honor code. Like, the less likely they are to rely on the honor system and calling people scumbags for using this or using that. They're a lot more likely to just try to have fun with different setups because they've learned, they've gotten past the point where they don't understand anything and are calling things bullshit. They understand how sorcery builds work. You know, they understand how dead angles work. They understand toggle escaping so they can get out of a stun lock. You know. So maybe they don't get as frustrated because they know what they're doing. They know what things are. And they don't have to resort to simply name calling and trying to brush off their defeats as, oh, well, my opponent was simply cheap. You know. Oh, that was a lot of damage. Blue chunks might be useful for this build. Excuse me. Alright. Just try not to get killed by the Hydra before I get to it. Oh shit. Whoa, I staggered through it. I did not get knocked on my ass. I have poise. Get away from me. Nope. Fuck. I thought I was close enough to not get hit by that. But you see that sort of like honor mentality more so in new players than you do any other kind of player. Because they're still new to the game, they still don't perhaps understand certain concepts or certain techniques. They don't know how to counter it, they don't know how to fight this, that and the other. But they feel confident in maybe their PvE knowledge, so they just use that. They base the PvP off of their PvE knowledge, and that kind of bites them in the ass, because of course, when do you ever come across toggle escape in PvE? When do you ever come across dead angling in PvE? Fucktard. No. Alright. If the last head decides to be a bit of a prick, I can always use Soul Arrow. Ah! Twat, I missed it. Ah, cunt. I hate this head. Whoa. That's new. Get back here, you son of a bitch. There we go. It is actually entirely possible to kill Hydra without cutting off all the heads. And without ranged as well, you just need to overkill the heads. Which I did not. Alright. Yeah, when do you come across dead angling in PvE? You don't. So why would you expect it in multiplayer? You won't. Until someone shows you what it is, you get super confused. So you ask them, like, what the fuck was that? And they go out as a dead angle. Or you look it up online, you know? There's the only two situations where you'll actually come across this stuff. And I guess that's why it kind of gets a bit of a stigma, is because it's like, it's not explained in the game, it's not intended in the game, and so people are like, oh, that shouldn't be in the game because it's not intended. You're using something that's like an exploit, essentially, and that breeds into a whole nother debate about why certain techniques are scummy, and it also feeds into this idea that, why am I starting in offline mode? Very strange. But it also feeds into this idea that, hey, what this guy did was scummy because it's an exploit and it killed me. So people maybe kind of rely on that as opposed to just simply trying to learn it and understand it and try to get good. Oh, that had a bit of an arc on it. Hello. Yes, I want your cast light. Ugh. It amazes me that there's always something new to talk about in Dark Souls. Maybe not always something new, but there's always a new perspective on an old topic. Because maybe new information gets out there, and maybe opinions change, and maybe people mature and kind of grow out of the, oh, you're not allowed to use that because it's dishonorable. Maybe people grew up and went, you know what, you can use that. I'm just not going to approve of that, but it is what it is, you know. Which is the way I take it. Is this the rock? This is the rock. Alright. Another quit and load. Yeah, game will start in offline mode. See, I'm concerned. I might be missing out on the remaster network test right now. I'm a moron. I thought it was near the rock. I swear. I am so confused right now. Very, very confused. Are you meant to be next to the rock? What? Oh, repair would be nice. The Ulseal Catalyst is very good for low intelligence builds. It has very high base magic adjust, but it's got terrible scaling relative to other catalysts. Most catalysts have at least a B. I mean, I think that the basic Sorcerer Catalyst has an A scaling. Beatrice's Catalyst has an A scaling. I mean, they're literally clones. It's just one looks better. Actually, the Ulysseal Catalyst has a base of 180 magic adjust. You can see here the Sorcerer's Catalyst has 142. So the Ulusil Catalyst is still better for me with only 20 intelligence. However, if I had 50 intelligence, Sorcerer's Catalyst would be better, hands down. Although at that point you're probably using Tin Crystallization Catalyst. Which I mistakenly thought, I think might have been last episode or the episode before that. I mistakenly called the Gwendolyn Catalyst the Tin Catalyst. I think it is a form of Tin Crystallization Catalyst. I'd have to look back on that footage. But it's not the Tin Crystallization Catalyst that increases your spell castings. I don't think so anyway. You have to get that off of Logan by completing his quest chain, I believe. But that's another vendor for me to spend money on. Fuck me, maybe I should just go to the Tomb of the Giants. I mean, I got Cast Light, so, yeah, why not, right? I don't think I've gone through the Catacombs yet, though. Don't think I have a Divine Weapon, but we'll give it a good old go. We'll give it the good old college try. Get some Estus and reset the spawn. Do I have a Divine? I always think the Painting Guardian Sword should do occult damage. Or, no, that wouldn't make any sense. Because they're guarding the occult stuff. Never mind me. That deals occult damage. Dark Hand. The Silver Knight Straight Sword does not deal divine damage. However, the Silver Knight Spear does. But you can't buff the Silver Knight Spear. So it is what it is. Yeah. I'm surprised I've actually done this much with an intelligence character. I generally don't spend a lot of time with int characters. Although it is a dexterity build, and I do spend quite a lot of time with dexterity builds. I try not to, like I do try and do some strength builds from time to time. But whenever I do that, I generally just end up with more quality builds than anything else. Oh shucks, killed that skeleton in one hit. Another item I rarely pick up. Oops, wrong way. These tombstones always kind of confuse me. I will be taking that. And you ain't gonna say nothing about it. With your giant ass falchion. Not been to the catacombs in a long time. Oh wow, those skulls are pretty close, huh? Explode. Or not. There you go. Hello. Rush to the bonfire. Alright. I was kind of concerned he was going to throw out a fireball. He did not. Because those guys can throw out fireballs deceptively fast. They kind of have a little bit of a wind-up. You expect it to be a little bit longer, and then the projectile is super fast. Or at least that's what I find. Just going to ignore you, and actually this time I don't have to worry about Paladin Leroy, which is actually a nice change of pace, if I'm perfectly honest. Because I've run the... Get over here. I've run the... health regen build so many times. Ow. God damn. But I've run it so many times at this point that it's like, I have to go for Leroy. Or actually, I don't think you need to summon Leroy to be able to get access to the Invader Leroy. That's what I heard, at least. Not sure how true that is, though. And the Lucerne. What are the requirements of the Lucerne, and what's the scaling? DD. 1512. Definitely a quality build. So that's a quality build that leans more on the side of strength. Because a descaling with strength is actually not too bad. Because when you two-hand, you get a 50% bonus to strength, as well as, I believe, a 50% bonus to damage as well. Excuse me. And excuse me. I will take that salt. The scythe's down here, isn't it? A lot of people love the Great Scythe. Not really sure how that wasn't a backstab. Okay, these guys are going to be respawning. But I'm greedy, I want the soul item. Hello, Patches. See how fast that comes out? Ow. Ooh, he gave me a humanity. I'm really not sure I'm not getting these backstabs. Now I forget, is this the way to the bonfire? I don't think this is the way to the bonfire. No. Fuck me, dude. Shitty ass low vitality build. Fucking 800 vitality. Oh, I'm back here. Hi. The catacombs is still a place that I get pretty confused by. And I mean, it's a really good place for a cleric to go. Simply for the reason that there are a lot of good cleric stuff down here. Like there's Tranquil Walk of Peace. If you're into that sort of good stuff. Wow, I wouldn't consider it good. Well, it's powerful at least. Whoops. So you can backstab these guys. Oh, and these guys are respawning. Okay. Oh. Cheers, mate. That's the Great Scythe up there. But yeah, you've got Tranquil Walk of Peace. You've got some good weapons in the form of the Great Scythe and Lucerne. You also have Patches, who, if you kill, you can get the Crescent Axe, which is a really good faith weapon. It's more of a quality faith weapon, so you do actually have to spread your stats pretty thin. But if you're okay with that, it's pretty darn decent. It's like a C scaling in strength, a C scaling in dex, and a C scaling in faith. The most you'll be able to get out of it is like 500 AR, unfortunately, and that's split damage between magic and physical. So it's not incredible, but it is pretty good for new game. Even if it is a bit hefty on the stat requirements. Also, there is the cleric set, but you can get access to the Gravelord Covenant, which gives you access to the Gravelord Sword Dance. It's a pretty good miracle. Damn it. And then in the Tomb of the Giants, you can get access to the large Divine Ember. Listen, you. No, I'm not a cleric. I'm an intelligence build.
I know what it is. Well, this place is treacherous.
Alright. I'ma watch my step. What was I saying? Yeah, large divine ember, and that's obviously pretty good for mage builds. Or faith builds, sorry. Yeah, get out of here. Give me my great scythe. Let me do my Grim Reaper cosplay. Alright, sorry about that. I had to let my cat out. Where the fuck are we? I mean, I kind of know where I am. I kind of don't. Still confuses me. Oh, Christ. Oh, I know where I am. Except the fucking... What? Wrong button. Get out. Ah, you bastard. You're too small. You're probably not going to chase me this far. Oh. Bastard. You. Piss off. What was that? They dive into a roll. That was weird. Alright, well now I can actually take things on, because they're not going to infinitely respawn. Oh, he's trying. Oh, you're still alive. Get out of here. Why do I have so many fucking dark hands? Oh, sweet. Super youthful. How did this giant skeleton even fit in here? The hell? Well, I guess he is a bit skinny. But not that skinny. Oh, I have a plan for you. I'm going to drop back down to just outside the room, and I'm going to plunge your ass. That is a sentence that you don't want to take out of context under any circumstance. Thank you. Ow! Yeah, I told you. Coming for you. There's not another one, is there? No? Good. I think the catacombs are my least favourite part of the game, because it's the part of the game that I explore the least often. Generally when I come down here, it's either to just rush through and beat the game, or it's to try and get some of the treasures very early on. And I mean very early on. So when I don't have good enough shit to actually be able to take on these skeletons. It's not smart. But that's the way I play. I don't play for efficiency, I play for fun. And there's Draco Walk of Peace. Oh, hello. I almost got parried right there. I was a complete idiot. I think I've got everything except for the Gravelord's sword. Which I could still go and get. I need to invest in some more endurance, dude. What the fuck? Did I just hit? Did I hit a skull? Oh, hi. Ooh. Shit. Fucking bone wheels, dude. Oh my god! Oh yeah, there's a reason why they nerfed them in Dark Souls 3. Oh my god. I got roasted. That was an unpleasant experience. Ooh. Well, actually, you did. I got killed by fucking bone wheels. I mean, I did. Just took the long way. Thanks, mate. Alright. Yeah. Perk. What, did someone say that something? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear anything. Ugh, fuck off. Fucking bone wheels, dude. I hate bone wheels. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, they're not too bad. But I'm not the biggest fan of them. Yeah, fuck off, skulls. Alright. Ah, you prick! Fucking hell, dude. I'm gonna turn you into minced meat. Piss up. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. You know, one of the things that I kind of sometimes wish that Dark Souls 2 had that was implemented in... Or, I wish Dark Souls 1 had that was implemented in Dark Souls 2. Sometimes I wish there were some enemies that you could farm to the point of extinction. It was super cheesy in Dark Souls 2. But if you were having problems with a certain area, you could literally just farm those enemies until they went extinct. Which is, in my opinion, pretty much the only way you could really play that game, considering how many enemies the game lobbed at you. You kind of had to go through that nightmare of farming them, but... meant that you didn't have to deal with all of the assholes all of the time. Meant that sometimes you could just, you know, walk through an area without having to worry about some... Oh my god! He followed me. I thought I was going to have to go up and get him. I was very wrong. Oh, of course. Black Knight Great Axe. Cheers, mate. God damn it. I wanted this item. Couldn't remember what it was. But it's a soul item, so it's good. We like it. Did not open up the Vamos thing. Which is a bit of a shame, because Vamos is a good blacksmith. Because you can make fire and chaos weapons. Which are, of course, very powerful. One of the changes that I'm actually pretty excited for in the remaster is the Vamos bonfire. Like, holy shit, thank God for that. You don't have to make that jump every single time. That was pretty much the one reason why I didn't really... or I rarely did any blacksmithing with Vamos. Ow. Stop that. Is because he was just such a pain in the ass to get to. You have now achieved the right of kindling. You have achieved the right to have fucking so much Estus you don't know what to do with it all. I did not equip Cast Light. Curses. But it's all good. I know the way to the bonfire pretty well. It's strange. In a stark contrast to the catacombs, I actually don't have that hard of a time with Tomb of the Giants. But then again, I don't try and grab everything in Tomb of the Giants. If I try and grab everything in Tomb of the Giants, it gets a little bit harder. Especially if I haven't obtained the Lord Vessel yet. If I haven't obtained the Lord Vessel yet, well, kiss goodnight to your character for the next 5 hours. Because getting out of the Tomb of the Giants without Lord Vessel is hard. It is really nasty. Alright. Get out of here. Scrubber. How many rest of this bonfire? Alright, and I can attune... Ooh, a 4th magic. You know what that's gonna be. And I could level up. Or I could spend that money on vendors. Fuck. I'm gonna be soul level 53 when I finish the game. Swear to God. And I might not even have enough souls for a good pyromancy. It might just be like fire orb or something. I don't know. Islith always reminded me of the Mines of Moria from Lord of the Rings. It's kind of this civilization living in the mountains of this giant carved out cavern. Looks super impressive. But you have to think, wouldn't it just be so much more practical to live above ground? But shut up, you're ruining my immersibles. Don't question the logic, it's a fantasy game. You're not meant to think about it when you're trying to be entertained. Well, what if some people find entertainment in thinking about things? Did you ever think about that? Probably not. If you're promoting not thinking, then you probably didn't think about the fact that some people do like to think. That kind of stuff does get on my nerves, where it's like, oh, well, it's fun if you turn your brain off. Yeah, but I don't... Most of the time, I don't want to turn my brain off. Sometimes I do, and I can understand the appeal of it. But you shouldn't have to turn your brain off to enjoy something. That's my mentality. Get the fuck out of here. Base. You can't hurt me. See the mosquitoes? You fucking asshole. And you see, even he de-aggroes. What kind of undead report are you using? Because it's clearly not the one that you're selling me. One thing that I think a lot of people overlook is that pyromancy does actually scale with intelligence. You see, the pyromancy flame has a B scaling in intelligence. What people mean when they say you don't need any like stat investment to be a pyromancer other than attunement, it is true, you can use it and it will still be very powerful with an ascended plus 15 pyromancy flame. I want that one. I'm not buying a baby fireball. I refuse. Great combustion, that's the good one, right? Outside of black flame, which uses like... only has like 4 casts, I think. Oh, let's take the great combustion. Why not? Can we modify? No, we cannot. It's
Now go.
fucking expensive as
Whatever you do,
shit.
Do not crack and go hollow, lest my time spent on you be wasted.
I don't plan on going hollow anytime soon. Alright, you're starting to annoy me now. Alright, have fun. I could bone back. I've got like 44 homeward bones, but why use them on a journey that I don't need to use them on, right? And I've probably been going for about an hour. I have a really terrible time actually judging how long I've been playing certain games for. So if it's only been like half an hour, I'm like, I've been playing for an hour. I do apologize. I wonder why they had a bell tower so close to Izalith. Like, this bell tower is so close to Izalith, you can kind of, it's like, okay, so it's relatively close to a lord. But then the one in the Undead Parish isn't really anywhere near anyone. It's in the middle of nowhere, relatively speaking. Because you got Anor Londo way above it, and then Duke's Archives, which is even further above that. So that's nowhere near. You got the Catacombs, which is below Firelink, which is below the parish. And then you got the Tomb of the Giants, where Nito lives, but that's below the Catacombs. So that's way below. It's closest to the Abyss and the Four Kings. But again, you have to go down to Firelink, then down to New Londo, and then down into the... Well, I suppose it would have been down into New Londo before they went to the Abyss. But it's just kind of like... The parish is kind of in the middle of nowhere relative to the Undead Lords. Undead Lords? That's not the right terminology. The Lords of Fire, I guess they are. The Lord Souls. So, you know. What do I need to do? Well, I need to go Anor Londo. Then Duke's Archives, and then we can go to the DLC. And then we can get Dark Magic. And annoy the crap out of everyone with Darkbeat and Pursuers. This character has probably tried to do the most amount of things in a single playthrough that I think any of my characters have ever tried to do. Because this character, Ow, is trying to get a ton of dexterity weapons, trying to get a ton of sorcery, you know, like offensive stuff like Soul Spear and all the crystal stuff, the utility stuff like Cast Light and Full Control and all that, as well as trying to get Pyromancy, and of course the Dark Magics and Dark Pyromancy. Oh, did it. But it's like, oh Christ. There are a lot of souls going into a lot of different places, and there are a lot of items that I'm planning on getting. I've never actually managed to do this to the balls. Can I rest? No, I can't. Bastards. Oh boy. I did not expect that. This is my strategy for the balls, by the way. Alright. Can see that worked perfectly fine. As they stack on top of each other. Oh, they can do that! Apparently they can. This is Dark Souls, they can do whatever the fuck they want. Screw the rules. I have souls. That doesn't really work as well. Especially not in the given context. I can actually see the chest on the left. A little bit darker than the chest on the right. But also... give it a second and you might... I thought I saw it breathing. Maybe it's the one on the right. Can I get close enough to see the chains? No, it's the one on the right. I'm an idiot. Now I'm seeing stuff that isn't there. What a turd, am I right? Yeah, there are ways of telling which are the mimics or which are not, without having to hit them or throw a Lloyd's Talisman at them. But if you're lazy like me, you're gonna go around hitting every chest. Or if you just like to troll people like EMB, you're gonna run around hitting every chest. In a Let's Play. And people are like, you can tell by the chains. He's like, I know, I just like trolling with you. Yeah, I kind of refuse to get beat by a fucking cheater. Come on, man. I wonder if I can bleed. Fucking hell, dude. This boar has been really confusing. I don't know what's going on with it. This boar is drunk. You're dead now. Alright. Excuse me. Just gonna go run past you and grab my souls. What have the boars been drinking? Good God. Alright. And the Fang Boar helmet. Sorry, I backed up away from the mic. That probably sounded a little bit weird. And rest up. But look at all this stuff that I've been using. I mean, the Yaito, I used the Yaito for so long, and it's down to 27 units. Like, that's it. And the sorcerer stuff, I used that for ages, only, like, my god, look how little it's all gone down. Look how few souls I actually have to spend on this stuff. Let us get the pendant, the broken pendant. Which, funnily enough, doesn't have any relation to the actual pendant. I don't think, anyway. Been a while since I've really gone in depth with the lore, which is actually something I've been kind of interested in again recently. Because when I first started playing Dark Souls, like properly playing Dark Souls, I used to be a really big lore guy. I used to be super interested in the stories that Dark Souls had to tell because, ow, it was so different to everything else that I've played, in the sense that all of the stuff actually connected together, and it didn't just feel like a bunch of short stories that were pieced together, or just kind of a story that's not really meant to be thought about too much. Like, it was the first story that actually meant something to me, you know? Right. Could be dangerous. But I haven't felt the love for a Dark Souls story in quite some time. I'm just a little bit scared of these hollows. I mean, that bow guy kind of tore me up a bit. These guys can do a lot of damage. Alright, feeling a bit more confident now. But, you know, with Dark Souls 2, I didn't really like much about Dark Souls 2. I didn't like the aesthetic, I didn't like the gameplay, I didn't like the story, I didn't like the level design. There was a lot I did not like about Dark Souls 2. And then with Dark Souls 3, I kind of just rushed through the game. And focused on the PvP. I didn't really focus on the story at all, didn't really give it too much of a thought. And with Bloodborne, when that came out, like, I rushed through that game so quickly. It took me about 3 days to beat. Which, in terms of a Souls game, that's pretty fast, you know? And I did get a little bit into the story, but it didn't drive me crazy. It wasn't something that I kept coming back to the game like, dude, this story is really cool. I just want to be in the world, you know? I appreciated the story. I thought it was awesome, but it didn't make me want to just exist in the world like Dark Souls did. But now that I've been watching a lot of Dark Souls 1 videos, and I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls 1, and I'm excited for the remaster, I've been kind of getting back into the lore again. Yeah. Darkstalker Wrath. Cath. Nice one, mate. And again, it's just like, it's that thing of, like, Dark Souls will forever be the game that I always come back to. Well, one of the games that I always come back to, alongside, like, Skyrim, for example. I always go back to Skyrim whenever it becomes winter and it's super cold and bleak outside, and I'm just inside playing Skyrim with the heating on and a cat on my lap under the duvet, you know, that sort of thing. With a nice hot cup of tea, you know? It's just like, that's Skyrim for me. Dark Souls isn't really associated with a season, it's just associated with being a good game and having some phenomenal memories. And the gameplay still holds up today. I mean, this is like a 6.5-year-old game, and the gameplay still holds up to this day. That's pretty darn good going. You know? Not every game can do that. I mean, even if you play Mass Effect 3, it feels kind of outdated. It's still a good game, it just feels kind of clunky and a little bit outdated. If you go further back to Mass Effect 2, you're like, why can't I roll? If you go back to Mass Effect 1, you're just sort of like, oh my god, this game is outdated. But Dark Souls, nah, it's still relevant. Still plays well. Still feels good. Still getting wrecked by stuff. Still getting good. You know. Of course, the only other game I tend to go back to a lot is Minecraft, because it's Minecraft. If you haven't noticed that I like creating stuff in this game, then allow me to spell it out for you. I'm a YouTuber, or at least I'm an aspiring YouTuber, meaning, well, hobby form. But I enjoy making YouTube videos. I enjoy making different builds in the games I play, so like Dark Souls or Divinity Original Sin 2, or even Skyrim if you want to go that far. I love messing around in map editors, so like well, Halo Reach's Forge is the map editor that I've spent the most amount of time on, but even Doom's Snap Map I've spent a good amount of time on, and Battle Block Theater's map editor I've spent a good amount of time in that as well, making some pretty cool arenas. They're not great, but they were fun to make. This thing always confuses me when I'm like, oh, it's a sprite. You see how it's kind of following the camera. That's why it always looked weird. Oh well. But I like to create things. I like to try and be creative. I might not be the most creative person you've ever met, but I try, you know. So Minecraft is a fantastic game for that. But at this point, I've been playing and rambling for a very long time. So I think I'm gonna call it quits here, and you know, pick up this again some other time. We're counting down the weeks to, or the days actually, to Dark Souls Remastered. I think we're like 12 days until Dark Souls Remastered. No, 13 I think. Or am I an idiot? I'm very much an idiot, ignore me. But I am counting down the days, just incorrectly. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.